This is a Black Nouveau web exclusive.
Now, I ran from Chicago to Washington, D.C. to dramatize that there's a need to feed hungry people.
He ran for Native Americans. He ran for women.
He gave so much of himself to a movement, to a people.
He wanted to be a part of the change, and he always fought for that change.
My goal is to really help change the priorities in this country.
That's a clip from the one and only Dick Gregory, one of the films that Milwaukee Film will be presenting as a part of its 4th annual Black History Month celebration. Geraud Blanks is the Chief Innovation Officer for Milwaukee Film and joins us now to discuss the movies and activities. Thank you so much for joining us. First off, let's talk about Dick Gregory, who holds a special place in the hearts of Black Milwaukeeans because he came here to support our struggle for fair housing. So how is that a part of this documentary?
So it's interesting. I got word today that a professor from Parkside, I believe, who was an expert in, or a Dick Gregory scholar, I'll say, is planning on attending. And so it's interesting because we're getting really amazing feedback about this film from the local community. It's selling really well. And so it's exciting because I know Dick Gregory as this national figure, right? And someone maybe before my time, but also of my time. And so I'm starting to hear stories from people about Dick Gregory. And how sometimes somebody a certain way, or a certain amount of history or information about them until you run across someone that tells you all these interesting stories, and then you realize how much you don't know. So I'm really excited about the opportunity to bring this film to the Milwaukee audience and have some really meaningful discussions around it.
I mean, was that really important to you, just considering his history in Milwaukee and just his influence on Black culture as a whole?
Oh, absolutely. So, and it's funny because I didn't know much about his history in Milwaukee. And so it was in a lot of ways a bonus for me. I know there's other folks that I know and work with that knew more about it, but it's for me, I've just been a fan of his work as a comedian, as one of sort of the preeminent social commentators before Chappelle and before it became really popular to be a comedian and a commentator on social issues. I was just a fan of his work. And so it was a bonus to find out that Milwaukee connection. And then, like I said, to have people then reaching out to us to talk more about that was it's why I do this work. It's why I enjoy my job.
That's got to be exciting for you to have Dick Gregory, but you've also got a film about Arthur Ashe. So we'll watch a clip from that real quick.
We were climbing the ladder of inclusion, and here was this guy in this lily white institution of top-tier tennis.
Arthur was trying to figure out how he could help that would be consistent with his life as a tennis player.
Some people think we are all brawn and no brains, and I like to fight the myth.
Arthur Ashe, that conjured up a whole image.
He started becoming a citizen of the world.
Arthur Ashe, the first black player to win the men's Wimbledon singles title.
So, Geraud, we just saw that clip. Tell us a little bit more about Citizen Ashe.
So that's a film directed by Rex Miller and Sam Pollard. I'm a big Sam Pollard fan. He's been to the Milwaukee Film Festival several times, makes some of the best documentaries around. And, growing up, Arthur Ashe was one of my mother's heroes. My mother grew up playing tennis. And so Arthur Ashe was the man. And so I grew up really revering Arthur Ashe. And I think what's really beautiful about this film is it talks about obviously his tennis career, right? But it also talks about Arthur Ashe, the humanitarian, right? And why, there's a stadium, center court stadium at the US Open named after him, why he's such an enduring figure, not only in the African-American community, not only in the sports community, but globally, right? And so I think people will really enjoy this look into his life, especially because I think the film mirrors his personality, right? The tone of the film, because Arthur Ashe was one of those dare I say, revolutionaries who did it from sort of a more reserved approach, right? And so sometimes I don't know if he's seen maybe as sort of this radical figure, because in many ways he was soft-spoken and wasn't a provocative speaker. But what he did for equity, when equity wasn't a popular word, and what he did for education around HIV and AIDS, it's just it's so important and significant.
Now, a lot of us know about Venus. We know about Serena. So not many of us, especially the younger generation, know a lot about Arthur Ashe. So why is it important for you to bring his story to the forefront and help highlight that?
Because there is no Venus and Serena without Arthur Ashe. Ain't that how it works? Like, you got to have the pioneers. You got to have the pioneers, the people that open the doors, the people that take all the risks, so that Venus and Serena can even imagine, or their father, right? Richard Williams, for him to imagine that these two little girls from Compton could be tennis superstars, you had to have an Arthur Ashe, right? And then when you think about Venus and Serena, they're revolutionary in their own ways. Serena's very outspoken, and I love the fact that Venus won her 6, 7, 8 championships, titles, and bounced and said, I'm going to go do something else. And I love the way that Black athletes feel empowered in a way that they never have before now. And you can trace a lot of that back to people like Arthur Ashe. So if you don't know about Arthur Ashe and you are Black and you play tennis, you should be ashamed of yourself. You must know who Arthur Ashe is.
Oh, well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because you've also got some other events coming up. So tell us more about the Creative Collecting and also Black Love Through a Black Lens.
So the Creative Collective is our first event, and it's a networking mixer, and it's going to be fun. We're going to have a panel discussion with local Black entrepreneurs and creatives. And what's really cool about this time, Earl, is that I feel like the creative is the entrepreneur, right? And the entrepreneur is the creative. And it's beautiful to see people who create art are thinking also about their business. And people that are doing business are thinking really creatively and out of the box. And so we're gonna get all these young Black, brown, and look, everybody is welcome, right? We might be centering Black folks, but everyone's welcome to come through, rub elbows, get to know one another. We're going to have a short panel, and then we're going to have some fun activities, sort of like speed dating for entrepreneurs, right? So it's going to be a good time, and it's our opening night event because we just wanted to have something social to kick things off.
And now, is COVID posing a challenge for any of that, or how are you folks moving through with that?
Yeah, it's been a challenge for 2 years now. So, and this is an event, to be honest, we just really couldn't do virtually. So, look, people are going to have masks. We ask that everyone that comes through is vaccinated, and we're going to do events responsibly. And to the best of our ability, we're going to make people feel safe and comfortable. Totally understand that for some people, going out and doing these social events, they're not ready for it yet. I get it. But we also have to sort of figure out how to continue to do what we do in this new reality, right? Until this pandemic becomes endemic, we've just got to kind of be nimble and adjust. So yeah, we're going to do what we always do. And then, like I said, some people will feel comfortable, some won't, but eventually this thing will be over. Well, I say that, but we're never going back. This is the new normal to some extent, right? Yeah, so right. We got to figure out how to live with it.
Absolutely. So just real quickly, you have the Black R&B Film Trivia Contest and the party talking about all the fun that we're having and the special screening of Sankofa. Talk about that.
So the trivia night is just So it's going to be a mix of movies, 80s and 90s Black cinema with pop culture. So Black pop culture, music, just all that kind of Black cultural trivia. So all you Black folks that think think you know about your history and your culture, come on out, test it. We're going to have a lot of fun, great prizes. And then after it's over, we're just going to hang out and listen to great 80s and 90s hip hop and R&B. Like, what is better than that? And then Sankofa is exciting because for those of you that know, the film came out initially, I think, in 1993. It's a film by Haile Gerima, legendary Black filmmaker. And, it's a film that I watched in high school and college. So I'm excited to see it again. It is remastered and being re-released by the distribution company of Ava DuVernay, which is called Array. So it is a collaboration between us, Array Distributions or Array Releases, and the America's Black Holocaust Museum, which is reopening. So we're going to show the film, and then there's going to be a reception at America's Black Holocaust Museum.
Sounds like a great time. So if people want more information about all of this, what is your web address? How can people get in contact with you?
So just go to MilwaukeeFilm.org, and then you can put the /BHM. But if you just go to MilwaukeeFilm.org, you'll see it pop up on our site. Click on the Black History Month tile, and you'll get all the information you need. There's also the Black Lens Facebook page.
All right, sounds great. We'll have much more information on all of these activities and other films in the Black Lens celebration this year on the February edition of Black Nouveau, premiering February 10th at 7:30 on Channel 10. Geraud, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.